So like many of you, I was watching the aftermath of the Breonna Taylor decision from the Attorney General of Kentucky and watching the protests happen and people, rotting in the streets, same old story. And in particular, I was watching CNN and listening to Don Lemon talk. And it became very apparent to me, and I already kind of had a gut feeling about this, but it just was so apparent last night when I was watching this that the media are proverbial agents of chaos, and they're actors playing a role, and their role is to victimize Breonna Taylor as much as possible and to use the emotion of these protesters to continue to incite riots and protests as a distraction from what's really going on in our society. We live in a world that day after day, despite this COVID crisis, despite record high unemployment, right, caused by COVID, where these tech companies are skyrocketing in stock price, and the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor. And the media has basically contributed to dividing us on things that we should all be united upon. The Attorney General spoke the truth. Justice was served. But for whatever reason, the media is insistent upon painting this narrative that Breonna Taylor was a victim whose justice was not served, even though their family got $12 million. There is community policing reform coming to Louisville, allegedly. And one of the officers was charged with wanton endangerment for shooting a bullet into another person's apartment. Now, if you take the emotions out of it and use your critical thinking skills, we all know what happened in the Breonna Taylor situation. We all know that she's not a victim of racism. She's not a victim of police brutality. She's a victim of having bad luck and making bad decisions. And when you really care about somebody, you care about the truth and you care about trying to prevent the next Breonna Taylor. But again, it became apparent to me that the media are agents of chaos that are stroking the fans of racism in this country while the rich get richer and the poor get poor. And I know this is not new news to some of you guys, but it just became way more apparent to me last night. Don Lemon up there working overtime, double shifts, odds red. All these black activists going out here making their money. LeBron James tweeting out stuff about his daughters. Victimization. But nobody want to talk about personal responsibility. And I just want to say, shout out to Brandon Tatum and ABL. Because they were on top of this Breonna Taylor situation. And the people that have been keeping up with the Breonna Taylor situation from those two guys were well informed, and they hit everything right on the head. So shout out to those two guys for helping bring truth to chaos. But I caught an interesting exchange between Max Kellerman and Stephen A., in which I think it outlines where we're at in society in terms of those who want to seek solutions and those who want to keep perpetuating chaos. So I'm going to break down this exchange between those two and kind of let you guys know why I believe that everybody's in on this, including the sports media, and that the common man like me and you are getting played for fools. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman, and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and most importantly, share A Black Conservative Perspective. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right, so I'm going to play this video of this exchange between Stephen A. and Max with them discussing the aftermath of the Breonna Taylor situation.
Okay. You're telling me that somebody can knock on my door, bust in my door, never identify themselves as police.
And see, this is a part of what I call misinformation. Stephen A. knows that the Attorney General said that the police announced themselves. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of the media's concerted effort to continue to victimize Breonna Taylor and place all the blame on the police officers when the facts don't play that out. There's still people out here that believe that Breonna Taylor was asleep in her bed and that the officers didn't knock and that her address on her search warrant was wrong. There are people out here that still believe that. And these are lies that have been perpetuated by the media on purpose, in my opinion, to continue to incite chaos. And I'm serious about this because I have no other explanation for it at this point, because the Attorney General has laid out the facts. You still have people out here perpetuating misinformation. And these are trained journalists, guys. These are guys that do this for a living, that are out here still telling false narratives. And it's at every single level, even the sports media, guys.
Officers. And in that same state, I have a license to carry, and I have stand your ground laws. That's a recipe for disaster. The point that I'm trying to make is we need to know that. And when we're addressing this issue and really talking about provoking and ultimately implementing the change we all covet, you can start right there. You can get those laws eradicated immediately. You can push your state legislators to address that. You can lobby that.
And see, that all sounds all fine and good. And I agree with most of that, except it doesn't start with the state legislators. It starts with you. It starts with decision making, not being on the search warrant in the first place. But I'm going to address that later. What I want to address is what Stephen A. is talking about, which is trying to change these laws on the books to prevent this from happening. That sounds all fine and good, but that requires a plan. And when you have emotion overruling everything that you do and controlling you, you can't have a plan. I know I have a lot of new subscribers and my channel is growing really fast. Most of my videos, guys, I try to provide a solution. I'm a solution-oriented person. I now believe that Stephen A's head is in the right place. However, deep down inside, he knows that he doesn't have any solution for this outside of taking personal responsibility. And they all know. They know what's going on in this situation. And you're going to see in this video, I'm going to prove it, that they know.
Have those things change, Max. Because if you do that, then when something like this happens, you don't have, at least in some people's eyes, you don't have an attorney general that appears to be handcuffed because these are the laws in the state that he has to capitulate to. Now, there are others who make an argument against him on that point, and I'm not equipped to debate that one way or the other because I just don't know. We're learning all of this as we go along. But what I will say is that it is clearly obvious that to some degree he felt handcuffed because of the laws that clearly favored the police officers who had a legal search warrant. And since there was no footage, no video, and that's another issue for another day, what he had to go on is what he went on.
Now, I think that's a decent point, but I don't believe that the Attorney General was hamstrung. I think that he understood the facts of the case. He understood that Breonna Taylor was caught in the crossfire and that these are the facts. And I don't think he was hamstrung. I think it was fairly obvious what this case was, and this case got bigger than what it should have because of the social media pressure. I think that without all these people on social media pushing for quote-unquote justice for Breonna Taylor, I don't think it gets this far because it's very obvious what actually happened. Now, I do agree with him that they should have had body cameras so that when stuff like this happens, we can get a more objective view instead of having to piece together what happened in the aftermath. So I do agree with Stephen A. on that, but to act like the Attorney General was hamstrung by laws, no, he's just following the law. He's following the law, and Breonna Taylor was unfortunately caught in a crossfire. The officers did not go in there with the intent of trying to kill Breonna Taylor.
These are the laws that need to be addressed, and when you talk about really, really creating change, that's how you can do it, by attacking these laws and getting them eradicated. Floor is yours.
And how do you do that, Stephen A? One way. Vote. I want to talk about that.
Vote for who, Max? Who do you want us to vote for? Because this is the liberal playbook. These people going out here telling all these emotional people to vote. To vote as if voting is going to bring Breonna Taylor back to life. As if voting is going to change any of the situations for these people. You have LeBron James and Mike Bloomberg going out here buying votes, trying to set up polling stations in California, which won't make a difference. That are doing all these things to try to get people to vote for people that help contribute to this system that they claim they are trying to fight. And again, and that's why I said having a plan is important. And it becomes apparent that these people don't have a plan and that they're agents of chaos, because voting Democrat to try to stop something like this from happening again, to try to change these laws, is going to lead to chaos, because The Democrats are not incentivized to change any of these laws because this is how they continue to get votes. Is to create the appearance of this system that is so-called systemically racist that forever needs to be changed, and it can only be changed by voting for them. But then once they get in office, they sit on their ass and they don't try to change anything because they don't have to, and they know that no matter what, they're going to get the black vote. So we have to look at ourselves when it comes to what happened with this Breonna Taylor situation. Who we're voting for and accepting personal responsibility in terms of holding the people that we've been voting for the last 50 to 60 years accountable, and also taking personal responsibility when situations like this happen and asking, what did I do to put myself in a situation like this?
What you brought up about Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend, this is frequently a narrative in the media when something like this happens, when there is a prevailing sense, particularly among African Americans, but not just among African Americans, that there hasn't been justice served. A demonization of the victim occurs, and people will say they'll go into the past and they'll find something that suggests this person isn't perfect, and parenthetically, the implication is, what can you expect? They had it coming.
See, and this is what I meant when I tried to tell you guys that the media is in on this, guys. Max Kellerman knows what Breonna Taylor's past was. Max Kellerman knows that Breonna Taylor was on a search warrant because she was involved in a drug operation with her ex-boyfriend, or at least allegedly. This is all alleged. He knows that. Stephen A knows that. They all know that. You're being played. And now what he's essentially telling you is that Breonna Taylor is a victim and that your emotional reaction is justified. It's justified for you to go out in the streets and to protest and riot and to cause more chaos because justice hasn't been served. And that nothing that Breonna Taylor did led to her own destruction. She takes no responsibility for being on a search warrant in the first place. When you care about somebody, when you actually want to help somebody, you don't lie to that person and tell them that they shouldn't take personal responsibility for them ending up in certain situations. Everything in life is a calculated risk. When I go outside and I get behind the wheel, I am taking a calculated risk that when I'm moving in a motor vehicle, I may crash, that I may not walk back into the door at the end of the day. You take that risk every single day. It is calculated. When you choose to date a drug dealer, you're taking a calculated risk that your door can be kicked in by the police at any given time. Max Kellerman knows this. He knows the background of Breonna Taylor. He's looked it up. Max is a smart guy. And despite him knowing this, he has decided to go on national TV and tell you that it doesn't matter what she did in the past, that don't take any personal responsibility for being a person of interest from the police in the first place, as if the police are going to put you on a search warrant for no reason. That is the narrative that the media is trying to paint, guys. Nobody on CNN, MSNBC, I mean, honestly, I don't even know, maybe even Fox News, nobody has talked about Breonna Taylor's own actions leading up to her destruction, except ABL, Brandon Tatum, and some other conservative news outlets. Nobody's talked about that. And that's why I have a ton of respect for these guys. Because these guys get called coons and sellouts and get so much shit when they're out here telling the truth and are trying to show people that your actions have consequences. And these same people in the media that try to paint this mirage as if they care about you and that they're trying to help you will sit in your face knowing the facts and lie to you and distort the truth so that they can push a narrative of victimhood and a political agenda to get Donald Trump out of office. That is what's going on right now, guys. And again, what I'm saying, I'm pretty sure it's not revolutionary to any of the people that watch my channel. But there are people out there that just still don't get it. They don't understand the world that we live in. We live in a world of cause and effect. That's the world we live in. If these people cared about Breonna Taylor, they would tell you that. The only people that actually cared about Breonna Taylor are the people that told you, hey guys, Breonna Taylor hung out with bad people. Breonna Taylor put herself in a situation to be caught in exchange or crossfire with police, guys. Instead of telling our daughters that the police might kill them for no reason and that white people might kill them for no reason, we should be telling our daughters, hey, don't date drug dealers. Don't get involved in illegal criminal activities. Make better decisions. Make better choices. Be careful who you hang around with. Be careful the company that you keep. Take responsibility for your own actions. Surround yourself with good people. Positive vibes. These are good messages that are going to help people. That are going to bring people up. That are going to save lives. Tommy Lauren had tweeted, "It is not an officer's duty to gamble with his or her life so that you can happily and comfortably resist arrest." That is advice that is going to save people's lives, right? To understand that police don't have to tangle with you. They don't have to fight you. They don't have to tangle with you and tussle with you all day to get you to comply. They don't have to do that. They can use deadly force. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, a cop is nothing more than a human with a gun. That's it. That's it. That is real advice that is going to save your life, but nobody wants to listen to that because it's coming from Tommy Lauren. Because it's coming from somebody with white skin. And this is what the media has done. When the conservative tells you to take personal responsibility, it's not always coming out of a place of racism. It's not where it's coming from. It's coming out of a place of, this is how the world works. This is how reality works. And we live in a reality where your actions have consequences. And we should be more appreciative of that, regardless of if somebody's black or white telling you that. It shouldn't matter what their political affiliation is. If somebody's telling you the truth, they're telling you the truth. And that's what it's about. This is supposed to be about saving lives. But it's not about saving lives anymore, guys. It's about getting revenge and stroking chaos and anarchy. And it's all being perpetuated for by the media. And we're being played. We're being played, guys. Black and white. Everybody in this country is being played. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.